Imagine this. An army goes to war and loses 2 birds. Yep, giant emus. And it actually happened in Australia back in 1932. This isn't a joke. It's one of the weirdest and funniest moments in military history. So, how on earth did a modern army get defeated by a flock of flightless birds? Stick around, because the story is even crazier than it sounds. After World War I ended, thousands of Australian soldiers returned home, ready to trade their rifles for plows. The government gave them land to farm wheat out in Western Australia. It was supposed to be a peaceful new beginning, a reward for their service. But just as their crops started to grow, a new enemy appeared on the horizon. Not another army, but an invasion of about 20,000 emus. These weren't just a few birds pecking at seeds. We're talking about massive, 6-foot-tall, flightless birds marching onto the farmland like a feathered horde. They were eating everything in sight, trampling crops, and smashing through fences, leaving huge gaps for other pests like rabbits to get in. The farmers, many of them ex-soldiers, were completely overwhelmed. They pleaded with the government for help, and the government's solution was, well, unconventional. They decided to send in the army. Yes, you heard that right. The Australian military officially declared war on the emus. So, in November 1932, Major G.P.W. Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery led a small contingent of soldiers into the fray. They were armed with 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. They probably thought it would be a quick and easy job. How hard could it be to shoot a bunch of big, dumb birds? Spoiler alert, it was incredibly hard. The first attempt was a total disaster. The soldiers spotted a flock of about 50 emus and set up their machine guns, but the emus were tactical geniuses. As soon as the firing started, they didn't panic and run in a straight line. Instead, they split into small groups and scattered in every direction, running in unpredictable zigzag patterns. The soldiers sprayed bullets everywhere but hit almost nothing. After using thousands of rounds, they had only managed to take down about a dozen birds. The emus were proving to be surprisingly difficult targets. They were fast, tough, and had an uncanny ability to absorb gunfire. One soldier was quoted as saying that the emus had the invulnerability of tanks. Even when hit, they would just keep running. The military tried different tactics. They tried mounting a machine gun on a truck to chase the emus down, but the ride was so bumpy that the gunner couldn't aim properly, and they still failed to hit anything. Worse, the truck couldn't keep up with the birds. The emus were just as fast and as smart. They seemed to have their own leaders, with one big black-plumed emu always keeping watch and warning the others. The soldiers were being outmaneuvered at every turn. After a few days of this comical failure, the media got wind of the story, and the Great Emu War became a national joke. The press had a field day, mocking the military's inability to defeat a bunch of birds. After about a week of intense, yet fruitless, battle, the military operation was a complete bust. They had used thousands of rounds of ammunition and had very little to show for it. The official reports claimed a few hundred emus were killed, but other accounts suggest the number was much, much lower. Humiliated and out of ideas, the military withdrew. The emus, for all intents and purposes, had won. They continued to roam the farmlands, seemingly unfazed by the whole ordeal. The public found the entire situation hilarious. The image of tough soldiers being outsmarted by birds was just too funny to ignore. The Minister of Defense, who had approved the operation, faced ridicule in Parliament. The whole affair was a public relations nightmare for the government and the army. Ow, what happened in the end? The war was technically over, but the emu problem wasn't. The farmers were still desperate. A second attempt was made later that month, which was slightly more successful, but the emus still largely dominated the landscape. Eventually, the government realized that military force wasn't the answer. Instead, they implemented a bounty system, which proved to be a more effective long-term solution for managing the emu population. But the legend of the Great Emu War lived on. It became a classic Australian tale of underdog victory, except the underdogs were giant, feathered chaos agents. To this day, the story serves as a funny reminder that sometimes nature is just impossible to control, no matter how many machine guns you bring. So next time you think a problem will be easy to solve, just remember the Great Emu War. Remember the day the Australian Army, fresh from fighting in World War I, went to battle with birds and lost. It's a hilarious, bizarre, and true story that proves you should never, ever underestimate an emu. They might just be smarter than you think. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this weird slice of history, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.